Picture losing everything by morning: your job, your money, the people who said they would never leave, gone before you finish your coffee. And the strange part, it is not the loss that destroys most people, it is the waiting for it, the dread. That cold hand that grips your chest at 3 in the morning and whispers, "What if it all falls apart?" Here is the question almost no one can answer. What if the thing that could save you from that fear is the one thing you have spent your whole life refusing to do? What if you were supposed to walk straight into the nightmare on purpose? 2,000 years ago, a man was about to find out. The year is 41 after Christ. A man named Seneca is dragged before the most powerful court in the world. He is one of Rome's most brilliant minds, a writer whose words emperors envied, and in a single afternoon, on a charge he could not even properly defend, it is all stripped away. He is sentenced to exile, sent to a barren rock in the Mediterranean called Corsica. No audience, no luxury, no friends, just wind, stone, and silence. For a man who had everything, this was a kind of death. And here is what you would expect. You would expect him to break, to spiral, to spend those years drowning in bitterness, staring at the sea, cursing the life that was taken from him. That is what fear does to us. It arrives and it hollows us out. But something strange had already happened to Seneca, long before the guards came, long before the sentence, because Seneca had a habit, a private ritual that his friends found almost disturbing. Every single day, in the middle of his wealth and comfort, he would deliberately sit down and imagine losing all of it. He would picture the exile before it came, the poverty before it came, the betrayal, the illness, even his own death. He rehearsed them in vivid detail, on purpose. His critics thought he was morbid, obsessed with disaster. Why would a happy man torture himself with imagined catastrophe? But Seneca understood something they did not, something the Stoics had been quietly practicing for generations. They called it Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. And it was about to be tested in the most brutal way imaginable. Because when the real disaster finally came, when the guards actually arrived and the sentence was actually read, Seneca did not collapse. He had already been here 100 times. In his mind, nightmare walked through his door, and it found a man who had been expecting it for years. But how? How does imagining pain make you stronger when everything in you screams that it should make you weaker? That is where this gets strange. Stop and think about how you actually deal with fear. Be honest. You avoid it. We all do. When there is a hard conversation coming, you push the thought away. When the medical result is pending, you distract yourself. When the business might fail, you refuse to even picture the version where it does. You tell yourself you are staying positive, protecting your peace, keeping the bad thoughts out. But here is the trap no one warns you about. The fear does not leave when you look away. It goes underground. It grows in the dark. Every scenario you refuse to face becomes a monster with no edges, no shape, no limit. And a monster you cannot see is infinitely more terrifying than one you can. You have felt this. The night before, something you dreaded. Lying in bed, heart pounding, running from the very thought that was chasing you. The morning you did not want to get up because some vague catastrophe felt like it was waiting. The message you were too afraid to send, so it sat there, poisoning your whole day. That is the fear tax. And you pay it every single day in advance for disasters that mostly never even arrive. The Stoics noticed something remarkable about human suffering. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Far more. The mind, left unchecked, is a machine that manufactures worst cases and then hides them from you in a fog so you can feel the terror without ever seeing the shape of the thing. Seneca saw this clearly. He wrote that we are tormented not so much by things themselves, but by our opinions and fears about them. The exile itself was cold and hard, but the years he could have spent dreading it, those would have been the real prison. And yet, here's the tension. It sounds insane. If imagining loss brings you peace, why does it feel so wrong? Why does every instinct tell you that thinking about the worst will summon it, will crush you, will make the dread even louder? Because you have been doing it wrong your entire life. There is a difference between worry and premeditation, and that difference is everything. One will destroy you slowly, the other will set you free. and almost nobody knows where the line between them actually falls. So, let us find it. Worry is what happens when your mind circles the disaster without ever landing. It loops, it spins. What if? What if? What if? It never reaches a conclusion, never touches the ground, never resolves. It is fear on a treadmill, exhausting and endless. That is what most people do when they think about the future, and then they wonder why thinking about the future feels like torture. Premeditatio Malorum does the opposite. It does not circle, it lands. It walks all the way into the worst case and then keeps walking, past the fear, to the other side. And on the other side, it asks one devastating question. If this actually happened, what would I do next? That question changes everything, because the moment you answer it, the monster loses its power. You stop imagining an abstract catastrophe and start imagining a specific situation, a situation with steps, with responses, with a version of you who is still standing in it. You lose the job, then you would cut your costs, call your contacts, and start again. You have done hard things before. The relationship ends. It would hurt deeply, and then, slowly, you would rebuild a life, as millions have before you. Do you see what just happened? The fear did not disappear. It became finite. It got a shape. And a fear with edges is a fear you can carry. This is exactly what Seneca did on that barren island. He had already imagined the loss so completely that when it came, he could see past it. He spent his exile writing, studying the stars, producing some of the most enduring philosophy in human history. The disaster that should have broken him became the quietest, most productive chapter of his life because he had robbed it of its terror long before it arrived. And here is the part that should give you chills. Modern psychology has circled all the way back to this ancient practice and confirmed it. There is a technique used today in cognitive behavioral therapy called decatastrophizing. It works by guiding an anxious person to do the one thing they are terrified to do, to finish the thought, to ask, and then what? And then what? Follow the fear all the way down until they discover something shocking at the bottom, that they would cope, that they would survive, that the ground is closer than they thought. Stoic exposure, 2,000 years early. The Stoics discovered through discipline what science later proved through data, that avoidance feeds fear and confrontation starves it. Worry asks, what if it happens? Premeditation answers, and if it does, here is what I will do. One is a cage, the other is a key, and you get to choose which one you pick up tonight. So, let us go back to that burning question from the very beginning. What if walking into the nightmare on purpose is what saves you from it? Now you know. The fear you refuse to look at controls you. The fear you study loses its grip. You do not conquer dread by thinking positive. You conquer it by thinking completely. And here is how you do it tonight. It takes 10 minutes. Sit somewhere quiet. Take the thing you are most afraid of right now, the one you have been pushing away, and instead of running, do what Seneca did. Walk in. Picture the worst realistic version. See it clearly. Feel the sting of it. And then, do not stop there. That is where worry lives. Keep going. Ask the freeing question. If this happened, what would I actually do? Name the first step, then the next. Follow it all the way to the version of you who has survived it and is still breathing on the other side. Then add one more thing the Stoics never skipped: gratitude. Look at what you still have right now in this moment that the imagined disaster took away. Your health, the people beside you, this ordinary evening you would have missed. Suddenly, you are not living in fear of loss. You are awake to what you actually possess. That is the hidden gift buried inside the practice. It does not just kill fear, it makes you grateful to be alive right now, before anything is taken at all. Do this, and you will feel the shift almost immediately. The dread that had no shape will suddenly have edges, and a fear with edges is a fear you can outlast. Here is the truth Seneca learned on that lonely island. The person who has already lost everything in their mind has nothing left to be afraid of. You will lose things in this life, that is certain, but you do not have to lose them twice, once in dread and once in reality. Face them now in the safety of your own mind, and you will meet them later with something that looks almost like peace. The nightmare only owns you while you refuse to look at it. So look and walk all the way through. If this reached something in you, subscribe and stay. There is far more of this waiting, and the next one may be the one you needed most.